Yeah. All right. Well, what you might have imagined on that video is if you saw this logo. Actually, Colleen, would you mind handing me one? I think one of those cards that has that logo on it. Maybe there. And if you have it, this is we call it the Next 20. And since Orchard Grove is 20 years old, I'm going to do, and hopefully I do a good job. Oh, there you go. Nice. Hopefully I do a good job of this. We're going to do a little mini series. I'm going to do a little setup now, and then in the fall we're going to do a full a series. And what I want to talk about is the next 20. And so we got 20 years under our belt, and I want to talk about the next 20. Now, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I want to sort of share with you what's in my heart and what I think. And then to get us started, I thought it might be good to do a little learning from the past. How many have learned a few things from your past? Please tell me something. Anybody ever go, oh man, I wished I wouldn't have done that? How many could say this, like, if I knew then what I know now, I would never have... Anybody? Can you fill in the blank? Yeah. There's a really depressing saying. It says, youth is wasted on the young. Think about it. It'll sink in a little bit. You got all that energy, you got all that enthusiasm, you got all that pep, and you don't have a clue. You know what I mean? I mean, you do, but I'm just kidding, the younger generation. Just kidding. You're brilliant. We know you are. We know you got it all figured out. Right? Isn't there a country song that says, I know what I was feeling, but man, what was I thinking? Isn't there a song like that? There. Thank you, country expert in the crowd. So the next 20, in a lot of context, you think of 20 years as a generation. 20 years. Some of you in this room aren't 20 years old. You weren't on this planet when Orchard Grove started, which makes me feel really old. Some of you joined us along the way. Most of you joined us along the way. Very few were there at the beginning, because trust me, I looked out and there was no one sitting there. I was telling the earlier service, I'm going to read a couple scriptures. Just give me a minute to intro here. I remember the first public service we did, and I read somewhere. I'm trying to learn. I didn't know. I never did this before, but I was telling the first service, Orchard Grove was born out of frustration. And I'm going to explain that because I think it's a key thing. Hopefully a lot of good things are born out of frustration. Right? Hopefully the civil rights movement, equality, was born out of frustration. In other words, something's not right, you get frustrated by it, and you get into action to change it. So if you channel your frustrations well, hopefully it can give birth to something good. So Orchard Grove was born, I guess I would say, out of my frustration, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the first service, I was reading, and I'm trying to learn from other people, and I read from this one pastor what he did, and he sent a letter to the whole community, and then, the first service that he had, there was like 200 people there, and they had to bring in chairs from the back, and so I literally I just thought, well, if it worked for him, it'll work for me. Little did I know. I set up all these chairs. We had this thing. I set up 200 because I thought that'd be a good starting point, and there were like 6 people sitting down on the first Sunday. So we got off to a real slow start, and I learned a few things afterwards I didn't think about at the time. First thing was, he started a church in the fastest growing community in the United States. So people were flooding there to, live there and looking for a church because there weren't any churches. Point one. Point two is he had a Bible study in his home for a long time, and they were spreading the word throughout the community for a long time. Point three is I started Orchard Grove in a place that I learned later is basically completely Jewish. Turns out no one was looking for a church. So along the way, I learned a whole lot of things, and I'm still learning. But in the early days, it was about a frustration. It was about something that didn't sit well with me, that I was frustrated by. And the package, I'll call this, the package of Jesus, to me, was getting in the way of Jesus. So, to me, Jesus was good, compelling, what he taught, how he lived, what he called us to do, all that was good, good, good. And then the church, I'll call that the package, was getting in the way. I got to do this, and I got to wear that, and I can't say this, and I can't go here, and anybody ever get in the package get in the way for you? And so it just got in the way so much that I'm like, I can't do it anymore. So we just started something new. And when we did that, of course, it was microscopic. There was nobody there. And what I would do is I would get up, and we had a trailer, we had some sound equipment, and we rented a high school cafeteria. Trust me, it was so bad. It was honestly, it was so bad. There was a lady that used to open the door and let us in, and she evidently brought her dog to work or whatever. So the dog would just, while I'm talking, the dog would just walk in and walk around. And it's hard enough when, you know what I mean, when you're trying to connect with people and get them to actually look at you when you're speaking. And then when a dog comes by, it can be really challenging. But the big idea was, here was the big idea. Jesus said, the most important thing is to love one another. From his lips. What's the most important commandment? Love God and what? Love your neighbor. But the funny thing is, when you go to church a lot of times, they talk about everything else. You need to do this, and you should wear this, and dress like this, and do this, and vote for this, and everything else was the package. But the main thing, just be loving. You know what's funny? Everybody gets that. People that don't go to church get that. You mean what he really wanted basically was for us to just love people and treat them the way you would want them to treat you? Pretty much. That was the summary. So the goal was, let's make it a place where the main thing is the main thing. Love your neighbor. 1, 2, 3, ready? Love your... That's the main thing. And I just did a whole series about love, and that's what it's about, is learning how to love other people. It's not always easy, by the way. But when you start adding all these confusing things of the package, so what I wanted to do is take the package away and just tell the story of Christ and love. So I want to read a scripture, but let me just set the little context for you so you get your bearings in the Bible, if you know the Bible story. Moses takes the family of Abraham, who's now become like a ginormous mini nation, although they have no nation status, in Egypt. They're in slavery. Remember this? And he takes them out of slavery. And you've seen the movies. They come out, they wander through the wilderness, and then Moses gives them the law, the commandments, all that stuff, and then they get ready to enter into the promised land. And when they get ready to enter the promised land, Moses dies. And a new leader has to come up. The new leader's name is Joshua. So if you know the Bible, where Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua. This is the story of where Joshua picks up the mantle from Moses. So if you need some context, think in your life of if you ever had a coach that you really, really loved and then he went on to something else and you had a new coach and you're like, he doesn't do it the way the other coach did. Or you had a boss that you really loved, and the boss moved on, and you get a new one, and you're like, this gal is not. There's a transition. Joshua comes in as the new leader. And this is where this story is set. They're about to go into the promised land. Moses has died. They're just crossing the Jordan River, and this is what it says. And at that time, the Lord said to Joshua, make flint knives, not from flint, but another story, and circumcise the Israelites. So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the Israelites. Verse 4 is important. It says this. Now this is why. Because your question is why? Why is he doing this? By the way, I skipped the pronunciation of Gibeath Halaloth. Like, what the heck does that mean? Do you know what it translates to? This is just for grins, by the way. Hill of foreskins. I tell you should read the Bible more. Honestly, some of you should break it out. That's actually what it means. A mountain of foreskins. Some of you are going to start reading it now. I can tell. Right? Some of you are like, check that verse out. So you got yourself a pile of foreskins here. We're going to circumcise everybody at once. We're going to get her done. Right? This is, you guys laugh, but it's in the Bible. I don't know why you're, so what a great idea. Get everybody on the same page. So the ushers are going to come in from the back this time. Oh, it's good to be a lady, isn't it? Another story, but back then, ladies didn't even count. This is just how it was. I'm just saying, that's how it was. They just didn't count. We're going to be talking about that too. Why did they do it? They did it because all the people, this is important, everyone who was a part of the epic thing, leaving Egypt, the miracles, the mountaintops, the law, the whole thing, all those people died. It had been 40 years, and so a new generation had come up. They didn't know those stories. They didn't know those miracles. They had not been circumcised. It was time for them to get together, to get everyone on the same page. Everybody knows the value of this in the workplace. We got to be on the same page here. Everybody knows the value of this. And if you're in a sports team, hey, we got to get on the same page. And if I can, I'm going to spend a little bit of time in this series trying to help us as a church family. Let's all get on the same page. And it can be hard because you have people that were apart, but then new people come in that weren't. I'll give you an example. You don't know the miracles of the past. So if you don't know the miracles, you can't honor them. You can't celebrate them. You don't understand them. First miracle is just that Orchard Grove survived. I don't know if you know this. Most churches that start don't survive. Like most businesses, I don't know if you know this, they don't actually survive. So the first miracle is just that you're here, especially me. Starting it the way I did, not having a clue, no money, no funds, by the way. Later on I learned, this is how you do it. You go around and you raise money and you have all these other churches support you and you get like $500,000 in the bank as a startup and then you start because it costs a lot of money. Not me. Started with zero. What did you get paid? Zero. What kind of health insurance did you have? Zero. Nothing. First miracle that we're here. That's the first miracle. First miracle, a few years ago, somebody was complaining to me about something in the church, which is fine. We're going to talk about that in a minute, how to complain well. I think it's a good skill. It is. If you learn how to do it well, it's actually an important skill. But some of us don't do it well. Someone's complaining to me about a piece of sound equipment that's down in Building A. This is junk. This and wants more, wants new, wants better. Which I'm all for new and better. And so I said, let me just explain something to you. I personally know the person who bought that speaker. That speaker was a part of the very first sound system that I used to set up. So before church started, I got in the car, I met the trailer, I had my setup clothes for church. We'd set up all this, run the cables, plug everything in, and then I would go try to chill out in my car, take those clothes off because they were sweaty, put on clothes for church, sit there with my notes and the Bible and just try to get my thoughts back into what this was going to be like. I said, I know the person who bought that. I know how little money he made. Less than $30,000 a year. And I know that we paid more than that for the sound equipment. Imagine yourself taking the amount of money you make in an entire year and donating it to sound equipment to get this church going. Well, of course, right away, the person just backed down, like, well, that's a pretty good speaker. And the point is not that it is or that it isn't. But here's the point. If in life you're ever going to go forward, which is what I want to do, I think it's so important that before you focus on the future, you honor the past. You recognize where you came from. You recognize the people that got you here. Now, this works in all things. This works in life in general. Now, right? Kids are going to school, they go to college, come out of college. Some of them, they make twice as much as their parents the day they leave college. Not twice as much as their parents made when they left college. They make twice as much as their parents make right now the day they leave college. Which is fine. But boy, wouldn't it be great if with that there was a sense of appreciation and respect and honor for the people that got them there. People they'll never meet who died so that they could be in a free country. People who sacrificed and did all kinds of things to get you where you are. In other words, it can be so easy for any of us or all of us to be a little arrogant about where we are and to jump right into critique mode. You know what I mean by critique mode? You walk into some job, you go, this is whack, this is stupid, this is ridiculous, why is this? Some of you walk into Orchard Grove. What's this whack? This isn't a church. Look at these beams. And this isn't a real church. Or you walk into someone else's baseball team and you criticize, well, this is stupid, and why are they doing this, and why are they doing that? Now listen, this is where the message is about today. Critiquing things is not a bad quality. Years ago, I did this with leaders. I went to a conference as a youth pastor when I worked with teenagers, and the guy gave a talk. I never forgot it. And this is what he was saying. He's like, "Look, you guys, youth pastors are known for being a little edgy, a little rebellious, a little pushing the boundaries, we'll say." And he said, "I want you to keep doing that, but when you do it, I want you to honor the past." In other words, anybody can walk into any situation and find all the problems. Well, this is stupid, and why are we doing this? And this doesn't make any sense. Anybody ever done that? Just be honest. I do it all the time. I tell you what, I did it the other day. We were at a gathering. It was here. It was at the church. And someone set up tables along the wall, and everybody was eating. And there was 1 million people in line. I counted them. 1 million people in line for pizza. And I just couldn't take it anymore. I just, like something inside me, I went down and I grabbed the table and I just pulled it with all the food. And I divided the line, what? The funny thing, all the guys that were in line, they're engineers, like design rocket ships and stuff, and they're just like, okay. But sometimes when you see something that's not right, you just have to what? I got to do something about it. This isn't right. This is just... So what he said to us, I never forgot, he goes, that's actually a good thing. That you get frustrated is a good thing. That you don't like the way things are is a good thing. That's a good thing. How you handle it is the other thing. How you channel the frustration. How you make change. You know, how many people do you need to insult? Or don't you need to insult anybody? Can you still make the change? Because what happens is people, once things are a certain way, they're just that way. And when you come in from the outside or you see something different, you go, wait a minute, we got to make some change here. Great things happen when people are frustrated, if they channel the frustration. You have to channel it. Jesus, very frustrated. What was he frustrated with? His own religion. He wasn't Christian, by the way, just a little history lesson for a few of us. He was Jewish. He was Jewish. He was frustrated with it. Why? Because they were stuck on the box. They were stuck on the package. They were stuck on the outside. And they weren't getting the heart thing. Right? And so constantly, he's pushing outside the box. There's a law. He grew up with this law. Honor the Sabbath. On the Sabbath, don't do this and don't do that. And rule. And Jesus grows up, and him and his disciples, they're walking through the fields one day. It happens to be a Sabbath when you're not supposed to pick grain, but they're hungry. So what does he do? Forget the Sabbath. We're hungry. That's a lot of power. No, with me? Are you with me? I don't care. We're hungry. Hunger triumphs that rule. Where did we miss this? Common sense trumps this rule. Love trumps this. Who grew up with this little religious tradition or this little law in Sunday school or this little thing in church and you have to do this and you can't wear this? And Jesus was always pushing his religion from the inside. Key note. He never left it. He just kept challenging it from the inside. Oh, I got to reform that. No, we got to push this. In fact, they killed him. He pushed a little too hard, too close for comfort, as they say. So here's the balance that I want to give us. So if you just sit back and when things aren't right, that's okay, I don't want to put... No, that's not leadership. Leadership is, I can't take this anymore. I can't take this injustice, this inequality, this unfair. I can't take this nonsensical way of this. And so you step up and you say, I'm going to get involved. But how you do it. So this guy, he goes, look, you guys, you just need to honor the past. You just need to recognize that, you know what? There was a pioneer that got us to there. So I was joking with the first service. You can come in here and criticize this building and criticize anything, but you know what? Somebody paid for that chair you're sitting in. Somebody paid for that chair. Well, I don't like this chair anyway. I know. But somebody paid for it. Do you get what I'm saying? Somebody paid for it. The other day, we took Charlie to my grandma's. I have a sense that it's important for us to, and I get concerned about the young generation. I don't know if we teach honoring. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little old school, you know. But I don't know if we teach it as well as needs to be taught about honoring. Like, I honor my grandma. I mean, to me, where would I be? We took Charlie to see her on Easter Sunday. To me, it's Easter. It's like, I got to honor. My grandma gave me my first Bible. It's red. It's got like cracked imitation leather. I never read it because it's in King James English. I'm just telling you the truth. But here's what I do. I honor her. I honor the gift. And I go, the package. I mean, I just don't read King James that well, personally. Does anybody here? I mean, a couple of you. My grandma does. She has a King James Bible. on her coffee table, next to her, in front of her, Davenport. Is that a grandma term? She reads it all the time. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. I literally don't understand it. So but I kept the seed, stay with me, I kept the seed, honor the past, and move into the future. Do you know we're here because other people brought us here? And so, yes, it's important to criticize and critique and keep moving forward. Yes, yes, yes. Always for forward, always for better, always. Because you have to let go of old things to take on new. But in the process, honor the past. We took Charlie to Grandma's, and we stopped by the farm where my grandma grew up. And I don't know, for some reason, we just wanted to. This is the Selders family farm. This is where my grandma grew up. This is where my grandma helped raise the chickens and the animals because they lived off of the land. That's where that's her maiden name, the Selder on M52 north of Adrian. And I had to take Charlie there. I don't know, I want her to know it. I want her to sense it. And I guess I have to go there because I have to be grateful. You know? Isn't it a little humbling what they did to get us here? There's pictures. I got pictures and pictures and pictures of her on the farm growing up. And in the same way, somebody sacrificed to get you where you are. It's so important to honor the past so that you can move to the future. You know? And if you don't, you never recognize all the things that people did to get you where you are. And I know the votes are in. In the early days, I used to tell people, I want to start a church for the next generation. This is what I would tell people. My grandpa's generation, it was something like 5 out of 10 Americans went to church on Sunday morning. 5 out of 10. And the other 5 lied about it and said they went. In other words, it was the thing you did. You wore a suit to a baseball game. Go figure, right? You wore a tie to go golfing, and you went to church every Sunday. That's how people lived back then. In fact, it was so different. I found an application for a mortgage. If you wanted to buy a mortgage, and I think this was in the state of New York, to get a mortgage, you had to have your pastor sign, this was in the 20s, even before my grandpa, your pastor to sign for your mortgage, that you're a good, upstanding. Could you imagine that today? I haven't received any from you guys. I don't know if you guys, how you're living. It's funny now. In fact, I was telling the first service, the funny thing is, it used to be a big honor to be a pastor. I mean, you were esteemed, you were revered, you were revered, now I have to spend 20 minutes apologizing to people on the golf course. This is why I'm not wacko. I'm not going to judge you the whole round. I mean, I literally have to spend 20 minutes apologizing for what I do. Because people go, oh, did something go wrong? Did you flunk out of the other schools? This is how much culture has changed. I'm just telling you the truth. So now, my dad's generation was 4 out of 10. My generation was 3 out of 10. It's literally it's literally changing. It's not even going to go to 2 or 1. It's going to go to 0.5 in the next generation. It's just not what you do anymore. People have literally voted and said no. The package so turned off the present. But there's good news. Hang in there. They still want the present. They still want God. They still want spirituality. They still want a relationship with God. They still want love. They still want goodness on this earth. They still crave for spirituality. They just can't break through that package. So we got to do something. Which is why we started Orchard Grove in the first place. It's not like every other church. It wasn't designed to be like every other church. Never was. And we're going to take it even further. I'm going to talk about it this fall. We're going to take it even further. Question for you. When Jesus taught, he did a lot of teaching. When he taught, where did he teach? Did he teach in the box? In the synagogue? Or did he teach outside of the synagogue? Which? Both. Both. Sure, he would go to the synagogue. You have him, Luke chapter 4, he's reading the scripture, right? When Paul taught, did Paul teach in the synagogue or outside the synagogue? What? Both. Both. Why? Because they were changing what they knew from the inside out. There were people that were never going to go inside. And so that's okay. I'll just talk to you on a mountainside. I'll talk to you on the lake. We'll talk over here. This is going to be our next challenge, our next generation. And ready? That's okay. If Jesus did it, we can do it. I got no enthusiasm for that. And that's okay. I don't need any. If Paul did it, we can do it. But what we got to stop doing is saying, no, just come to our box. No, just come to our church. No, just come to our synagogue. Right? They've heard it. They're numb to it. This generation is numb to it. I'm like, why? I'll just watch it on YouTube. I don't. And then we're missing the point. We're missing the point. Now, do I believe in this fellow? Of course. I mean, here I am. This plays a part. Paul didn't leave it. Jesus didn't leave it. But they weren't stuck in it. No one's listening to me today. I don't even know why I'm up here. Okay, listen. I'm closing this down. Let's pretend you took your kids to the gym every Thursday. And the reason you took them to the gym every Thursday is because you believe in physical fitness. You believe in working out. And you're on a routine, and you do a CrossFit gym. CrossFit. And you're macho, you're studly, and your kid's macho, studly, and you do it every Thursday. Thursday, the gym. And then they go to college. And they're off. And a month into college, you call up your daughter. Sweetie, how you doing? Good. How's college? Good. You still going to the gym? No, Mom. What? Why not? Well, you say, the first week, they go around and see all these clubs. And I joined a club where they do rock climbing. And they do rock climbing on Saturdays. And she sends you pictures. And she's climbing rocks. And she's got abs for days, right? She's got lungs for weeks. I mean, she's fit as you could possibly be. And you proceed to lecture her for not going to the gym on who's the moron? In other words, what are you stuck on? The box. You're stuck on the box. This is how you get fit. We're going to have to say this is not the only way you can find God. Hate to break it to you. I'm jacking up my own box, I realize. But that's our tradition, actually. That's Jesus. That's Paul. That's the whole story. It's not about the box. Boxes can be good. Can smash us all together. We can bump into each other. Hopefully some good things happen. Maybe you learn something today. Boxes can be good. But life's not about the box. The next generation is going to need more. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I want Charlie to learn good things. Inside the box and what? Outside. You remember Peter and Paul getting into it? You guys never read the Bible. It's so good. There's fights, there's foreskins, there's all kinds of stuff in there. Peter and Paul, they go at it. They're just hammering each other, right? Because Paul is out of the box. Oddly enough, it's about circumcision again. Paul's like, they don't need to get circumcised. We don't need to do any more of this mountain of foreskin stuff. Enough. Just have them have a change of heart. That's good enough. You know, if I take criticism for anything, you know what I take criticism for? All I care that you change is your heart. I don't care if you get wet. I don't care if you eat bread. I don't care. I mean, I want you to. But I've seen people eat bread and get wet. I mean, baptism and communion. Translation. But never change their heart. And I go, who cares? So Paul's message was, it's about changing your heart. And if you change your heart, you change the kind of person you are, and you become better to other people, and all the other stuff is fine. It's all box stuff, and it's fine. It's good. Boxes are great. They have cereal in them. You with Paul, go outside the box. And why? Because you see these other people that aren't being reached. The reason Paul was there because of the Gentiles. And this was Paul's message. You guys are going to have to get a little off of yourself. You're going to have to be a little unselfish, uncentered on you so that we can reach these people. So that we can welcome them. We can't stand at the back with ushers and knives. Can't do it. Would you come? It's almost an exact parallel. Why are people not coming? Because there's people in the back with ushers and knives. They got little sin detectors. Ooh. Ooh. Woo, 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 woo. And then people are like, I'm not going there. All right. I'll do a better job next week. If you come, it's going to be better. Let's stand. I will. I'll do better. Let's stand up. We got to close this ship down. All right. Man. Too late. Too late. But anyway, thank you. Man, we could do something good. 20 more years. I'm going to tell you, like, we got a lot. We got miracles, we got flops, we got good things. I'm supposed to say anything? Pastor's chat after service. There's a pastor's chat. Thank you so much. After service, if you're new, we'd love to welcome you back to pastor's chat. But we could do something good if we weren't stuck on the box, you know. So why did I do the whole message? Because I wanted to get us all on the same page. Because, why am I here? And people always go, well, you're not like this. You're not like my church. I know. But I can give you directions there. And I don't mean that in a derogatory. I mean, there's so many churches. And if they're getting it for you, then get it done there. Honestly, that's a good thing. That's a box. It's good. My calling is out. It just is. Do you remember when Jesus came along and I criticized him because he was eating and drinking too much? You should read that part too. Because he wasn't like John the Baptist. I mean, John the Baptist was he was a fasting, locusts, wild honey, just a loincloth. Chris, why aren't you like? Because I don't have a loincloth. I hate locusts. That's not me. It's not my calling. And it's good for whoever's calling it is. John the Baptist played a role. But then came Jesus. Played a different role. Is that all right? But you'll get stretched. You get uncomfortable. And that's okay. So as we go forward, ready? We honor the past. We thank God for the people that brought us here. We're going to do that. We're going to honor all the people that helped us get here. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving. I'm going to stretch your mind. I'm going to stretch your heart. Right? You're going to let go of some old crusty stuff you've been holding on to. It's all part of it. Dear Lord, thank you for your love for us. Help us to pause when we have that frustration that we want to turn into action. Give us the grace to pause long enough to honor the people that got us here. Though it's not perfect, they got us here. Our parents, those that have gone before us, people that have sacrificed and served and given. And yet, let us hold an eye to the future, to something better, where love and justice and goodness reign on the earth. Or as you said, your kingdom comes and your will is done on earth as it is in heaven. In Christ's name, amen. Happy Sunday, Orchard Grove.